Hi and welcome back. In this lecture we're going to talk about key insight 4, an agile supply chain. So first let's look at what a traditional supply chain is. So this is a very simplified version of traditional supply chain where everything runs in sequence, meaning the raw material manufacturer or the raw material supplier gets a raw material and sends it to the manufacturer. The manufacturer makes the products and sends it to the distributor. The distributor sends it to the retailer and the customer finally gets the product from the retailer. So there are lots of challenges and issues with this traditional supply chain model. The main thing is data silos. So the raw material supplier only passes the relevant information to the manufacturer, and the manufacturer to the distributor, distributor to retailer, and retailer to customer. So because this is not tightly integrated, the customer can't see in real time what's happening with their product. Let's take for example that the raw material supplier is unable to provide the required raw material to the manufacturer and there is a significant delay. So the manufacturer has to inform the distributor, distributor to retailer and retailer to customer, resulting in very angry customers and significant customer dissatisfaction. So what if there was a better way of connecting this? What if everyone connected, collaborated and coordinated with each other? What if there was seamless transfer of information and end-to-end traceability and transparency? Well, there is a way. So introducing digital supply chains. So digital supply chains is basically where all the stakeholders within a supply chain is connected via digital means, meaning online, most of the cases. So everyone is sharing information, everyone is sharing in real time what the operations are in their business. So all the stakeholders are ready and equipped to handle any kind of ad hoc scenarios or any kind of issues which happen in the supply chain. So as you can see in this diagram, the raw material supply, manufacturer, distributor, customers, retailers, logistic providers, everyone is connected with each other and everyone is sharing and receiving information about each other. For example, if there's a delay in the raw material production, the manufacturer can get from an alternative provider who offers the same price and the same quality, and then continue with their original production plan or slightly deviated production plan to ensure that the goods are shipped on time. So the distributor now knows that the material is coming from a different supplier and then they can adjust their internal operations and things like warehouse storage accordingly. Then if you look at the logistic provider, they know to pick the raw material from the new provider and they can adjust their plans accordingly. So there's seamless information, seamless collaboration, and also great level of efficiency and reduced wastage in digital supply chains. Then let's look at a few characteristics of digital supply chains. The main thing is real-time data transferring sensors. So there's lots of sensors including things like Internet of Things. So these are small sensors which are connected online. Then there's Industrial Internet of Things, which is the industrial version of it. So basically these types of sensors capture things like the vibration levels, humidity, temperature, and a lot of other telemetric data. Then there's cyber physical systems. So these are smart systems which are able to self-organize and self-optimize and self-learn with minimum human intervention. So all these systems will be implemented across the supply chain to transmit real-time telemetric data on the movement of goods as well as things like the asset utilization. Then there's high bandwidth, low latency global internet coverage. So we are seeing a lot of companies like SpaceX, Starlink, which are planning to offer global internet coverage, very high bandwidth, meaning it can transmit a lot of data, and very low latency, meaning you can do things like remote operations. So basically controlling something like a truck from another location in real time. Then there's also the rollout of global 5G networks, which is very high bandwidth and very low latency, which is facilitating this communication. Then there's advanced analytics, so implementation of predictive and prescriptive analytics. So predictive meaning it can anticipate before something happens, prescriptive meaning it can guide you on what to do next and support the decision making process. So implementation of predictive and prescriptive analytics on the supply chain operations to understand and anticipate trends and insights and also capture hidden trends and insights. So this is basically useful to understand what are the customer preferences, route optimization, and also the hotspots from which the customer orders the most from, so geographical areas and demographics. So when you're planning on building infrastructure, you can build in those hotspots and to ensure that the supply chain increases efficiency and reduce lead times. Then we'll start to see end-to-end visibility. So things like real-time visibility of the asset utilization, meaning what are the resources that's being overutilized, underutilized, and also the movement of resources. So we'll start to see the movement of resources. Customers will be able to not just see whether the product has come to a hub or a small destination, but also see in real time the movement of the good. So this enables businesses to make more effective decisions and also things like better risk management, so you can easily find out alternatives if there are any issues. Then we have something called digital twin. So it's basically the digital representation of a physical entity. So all the characteristics of a physical entity, including all your assets, including all your vehicles, and all the things are mapped digitally to computers using sensor data and other telemetric data. So you can see a digital model of the physical entity in real time. Then we have things like supply chain resilience. So because of this whole COVID-19 pandemic, it kind of opened up the gaps within the supply chains for us to better understand the issues and the challenges within the supply chain and also to deliver much more innovative solutions. So supply chain resiliency was a key. So resilience would be incorporated to all the operations of the supply chain. So we'll have strategies like the diversification of suppliers, production capabilities and transportation processes, and also finding alternative materials and non-traditional partnerships. Then with agile and digital supply chains, we'll start to see greater collaboration amongst stakeholders. So greater collaboration among stakeholders to focus on the greater good of the entire industry, not just mere profits and capturing the market. Then we'll see the focus on delivering a great customer experience. So there'll be a greater focus on delivering exceptional customer experiences by things like personalization, using advanced automation and things like artificial intelligence, which we're going to talk about in one of our next lectures. So things like chatbots and end-to-end traceability and transparency of the supply chain so that customers are well aware of what's happening in the ground situation rather than making it a huge surprise for them when they find out that the product cannot be delivered. Then we'll start to see AI-enabled supply chains, so artificial intelligence-enabled continuous monitoring and continuous improving the operations, the efficiency, productivity, and reducing wastage, and also eliminating bottlenecks. So the supply chain will be a thriving ecosystem with continuous self-improvement. So artificial intelligence would do a significant back-end of the supply chain operations, including things like figuring out the alternatives, figuring out what's working, what's not, understanding weather patterns and guiding the ships accordingly, and a lot of other things like that to ensure that the supply chain operations are continuously improving. And finally, cybersecurity. So because everything will be connected online, cybersecurity, there's a huge risk, but also there are solutions coming up as well to address these emerging challenges. So high number of online connected sensors and equipment makes businesses very vulnerable to cyber threats and attacks. So using patterns like security first approaches where you focus security first and then you start building the product and solutions. So strategies like that will really help you to eliminate cyber threats and reduce them to a manageable level and to ensure that your business is secure from cyber threats. Well, those are a few factors as far as an agile supply chain is concerned. Key insight 4. I'll see you on another lecture.